why is the most important word to keep in mind, probably with anything you do, but particularly when you think about your communications. Albert Einstein once said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend the first 55 minutes defining it, right? And then the last 5 minutes solving it. Being intentional about why, being intentional about where you're going, being really intentional about why am I doing this is so critical to the success of anything you do, but particularly critical to your communications. And really thinking about, why am I delivering the communication? Why am I having this meeting? Why am I doing this, right? Because like most meetings, for example, what are most meetings? Most meetings are a group of people coming together, waiting for someone to take accountability to do something. But if instead you think about, why am I having this? And you think, well, because I have something in my head that I want to get into somebody else's head, then you can be much more intentional about, great, I'm just going to do that. And how am I going to do that in a more effective way? And that is something that will take time, right? So a lot of people think, well, I'm busy, I have too much going on, I'll just take a bunch of slides that I've already put together before and I'll just go up and I'll just make it happen. But the reality is, if you're giving a 15-minute talk to a group of 100 people, that's not 15 minutes. That's 25 hours. When you think about 100 people, 15 minutes each. That's 25 hours of time that you're taking up. And are you saying that it's not worth an hour, a couple hours, 2 hours to prep for that, to make sure that you're respectful of that 25 hours of time? Because too often, right, we sit through these talks, we sit through presentations, we sit through things that are horrible, and that's disrespectful of the speaker. What you're going to be is be very respectful, because what you're going to do is make an investment and say, I'm going to prep in advance and make these the best 15 minutes you spend in your day. And the way we do that is by really thinking about the why. So there's a great TED Talk by a guy called Simon Sinek. And what Simon talks about is the power of why through a structure that he's defined as the golden circle. And what the golden circle says is that why is in the center, then how, then what. And to illustrate this, Simon shares an example where he says most people, most companies communicate in a way where they think about the what first, instead of thinking about the why first. And what Simon says is the reality of decision making, the reality of neuroscience, the reality of biology is that people don't care what you do, they care why you do it. People don't care what you do, they care why you do it. And so he uses the example of computer companies, and that most computer companies, when they're trying to sell something to you, they say, we make great computers, right? They start with the what. They say, we make really great computers. Want to buy one? And maybe, like, okay, you make great computers, cool. Versus Apple, and when Apple communicates, and Apple is a why company, Apple is intentional about the why when they communicate. When Apple communicates to consumers, Apple starts with the why. Apple says, in everything that we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. Why? We do this by making products that are easy to use and very well designed. How? We just happen to make computers. Want to buy one? Right? That's a much more, you're ready to buy a computer from me. And that's a much more compelling way to share information. And that's actually rooted, and Simon talks about this, that's actually rooted in biology, because your brain is comprised of your limbic brain, which is responsible for decision making, and your neocortex, which is responsible for interpreting analytical information. And so whenever you think about the why, what you're really touching is your limbic brain, the part of your brain that's responsible for decision making. The way your brain works is that you're making a decision and then you're using facts and figures and kinds of things to justify the decision that you've already made, not the other way around. So facts and figures aren't actually informing you making the decision. You're making the decision, and then facts and figures are helping you to justify and rationalize why you've already made a decision. So when you can think about the why, and you're more intentional about why am I getting something across and touching people in a way that's affecting them in their limbic brain, you're going to be much more effective at getting something across.